Hello, it's Peter again. In this video, I just want to go over the example we did in class, which was basically the substitution and income effects of a price change, and we're looking at the rice as the good that we are interested in. It has the consumer has experienced a change in the price, and we want to see how he reacts and what we can say about his reaction. Does he buy more rice? Does he buy less rice? And can we look at the incomes and substitution effects and as well as total effects? Okay, so the consumer is deciding how much rice he wants to buy. It's measured in kilograms per year, and it's on this axis, on the horizontal axis. And the other good that he's looking at is basically spending on all other goods, and we've measured it on this axis, and it's measured in terms of dollars because I've signed the price of other goods at once. So spending on all the goods is on this axis. So he's trading off basically money spent on other goods with rice. Okay. He's a poor individual or a household, and he lives off $1 a day. So his annual income is $365. We know about 2 billion people live, or a lot of people in the world, about 2 billion people live off $1 a day. So it's a quite of an interesting example. Just look at people at poverty and try to see what they do if they experience a change in a good that they allocate a lot of their money to, which is rice. So the initial condition is such that the person doesn't have to buy any rice, in which case basically he spends $365 on all other goods, or he can buy nothing. He can not spend anything on all other goods, and then he will buy 730 kilograms per year on rice, and that's easy to get. You just take 365 and you divide it by 50 cents, uh, and then you'll get 730 kilograms of rice. Okay, so he can be somewhere along. This is his budget. He can be somewhere in between, and this defines his budget line. This budget line is this one with a slope of 50 cents, right? So for every extra kilogram of rice, he has to give up 50 cents on spending on all other goods. Okay. So that's his budget line, and he has a preference map, and the preference map is shown to you by the indifference curve, and there's the indifference curve, the indifference curve that is tangent to the budget line, and his optimal bundle is at A, where the marginal rate of substitution, the slope of the indifference curve is the same as the slope of the budget line, and we know the slope of the budget line is the price of rice, and he sets the marginal rate of substitution, which is basically how much the person is willing to give up in terms of spending on other goods to get an additional kilogram of rice. So those two are equated at the optimal. If the the marginal rate of substitution here is very simple. It's basically the maximum willingness to pay to have one more unit of rice in terms of reductions, in terms of spending reductions. Okay, so if the maximum willingness to pay was greater than the price of rice, he would buy more rice, and vice versa. Okay, so he ends up at A. He consumes 200 kilograms of rice per year, has a big family, and he spends $100 on rice, and he's left with $265 for spending on other goods. So that's point A. What happens next is that he experiences an increase in the price of rice. So the price of rice increases to $1, it doubles. Okay. And if that's the case, what happens is that his budget, the environment that he's faced now is different. His budget constraint rotates inwards. the y-intercept does not change, but the x-intercept changes. And think of it: if he did not consume any rice, he would still spend $365 on all other goods. It's irrelevant for him if the price of rice went up. He doesn't consume it, so he'll be at $365. Okay. However, if he spend nothing on other goods and he spend it all on rice, now he can buy 365 kilograms of rice, not 730. So that's another point on the new budget line, and so the new budget line is this one here. Yeah. So it has rotated in, and his utility is lower. He's not very happy. He has to go somewhere on this line and consume. Okay, we don't know where the optimum is, and I'm not going to draw any difference curves here because the graph is going to be too complicated. But he should be somewhere along this line. Okay. He might end up in C. There's no reason why he may not end up in C. So he goes from A to C. What you see here is that he's reduced his consumption of rice by 100 kilograms, and he's maintained the same level of spending on other goods. That's a possibility. But that's only one possibility. The other possibility is that he goes to point D. And if you look at point D, what he's done is the opposite. He has reduced his spending on all other goods by $100 in order to maintain his consumption of 200 kilograms of rice per year. Okay, so that's a possibility to move from A to D. But it's also possible that he moves from A to E, where he has increased his consumption of rice even more than 200. That's strange because here the price of rice has gone up and he buys more rice. That's against the law of demand, that we discussed in the beginning of the course. So the total effect of the price changes from A to C could be from A to C, could be from A to D, could be from A to E, or it could be something somewhere else. We don't know exactly, okay? But we'll look at only C, D, and E because it captures quite a bit of most of the situation here, but let's look at it more carefully. So the total effect here can be broken up into two effects: what is known in economics the substitution effect and the income effect. When the price increases, the consumer experiences two effects. The first, he sees basically that price is more expensive now relative to the other goods. And the other effect is that his buying power has gone down now because price is a lot higher now. So his real income has been reduced. So prices of goods have gone up. His income is the same, $1 a day. So he's experienced basically a reduction in his real income. Okay, so there's two effects, and we want to break up these two effects. And the one way of breaking up these two effects is to say to the consumer, "Look, consumer, I'm gonna give you enough. I know you are worse off now here, right? So I'm gonna give you enough income, more and more and more and more and more income, so I can make you just as happy as you were initially." Okay, and if you look at the graph here, you'll see that the new optimal level is at B. It's not at A anymore. It's to the left of A. Okay, and the reason is, remember, at A he sets the marginal rate of substitution equal to the price of rice, right? So if he cannot be at A anymore, of course, because it's above his budget line. We're not giving him enough to buy the A, but we could have done that. That's a different compensation. Even then, he would buy less rice. he would move towards B. Okay. In other words, what you've done is you've given the consumer enough income to make him just as happy as before, but you're telling him the price of rice now is $1. And he says, well, at T, my maximum willingness to pay is less than the price of rice, right? Because the price of rice is 1, and my maximum willingness to pay is 50 cents, right? So I'm gonna reduce rice and go towards B. Okay, so then that's the substitution effect. Substitution effect says buy less rice. When the price of rice goes up, you buy less rice, which is the law of demand. And it's always like that. If the price went down, he would buy more rice. So the substitution effect moves in the opposite direction to the substitution effect has a negative relationship between price and how much you buy. Okay. So from A to B is the substitution effect. But there is an income effect, right? We don't stop at B, we stop at C, D, or E. Okay, so the movement from B to C is the let's say he ended up in C. So the movement from B to C, if you take away the income from the individual and he ends up at C, then he buys less rice again, right? So from B to C, buy less rice, and since his income has gone down and he buys less, it's a normal good. So the substitution and income effect reinforce each other. Buy less, substitution effect, buy less, income effect if it's a normal good. Okay, but rice is not considered a normal good. Rice is a staple and it's considered an inferior good. As your income goes up, you buy less of it, or as your income goes down, you buy more of it. So it could be possible that the consumer moves from B to D, or anything along this path here. Would say I buy more rice when my income falls. So from, let's say, from B to D, this direction, he buys more rice as income falls. Therefore, it's an inferior good and offsets exactly the substitution effect. So what happens is that he decreases only spending on all other goods, and he keeps on buying 200 kilograms of rice. Okay, and the reason is that the substitution effect, which is from A to B, is offset by the income effect, which is from B to D. Okay, and the final one is that it could be possible that he moves to E. So from B to E, he buys more rice as his income falls. Therefore, it definitely is an inferior good. But what is interesting is that it's stronger than the substitution effect. The income effect is stronger than the substitution effect, and he ends up buying more. So buy more is stronger than buy less rice up here. Okay, and those goods are known as the Giffen goods. And the article on Indiana Jones, where some scholars went out around the world trying to find if the Giffen good exists. And they found one in China. They found two in China, actually, rice and wheat. Rice in the southern part of China, I think, and rice and wheat in the northern part of China. They're rare, but they exist, and therefore it could be possible to find cases where if the price of a good goes up, you tend up to buy more. Doesn't happen often, but it could happen. Yeah, I'll leave it here and I'll summarize it later. I'll summarize it in a different shortly in a different video. Summarize the whole thing. Okay, bye now.